what do you think about, the progression of style? You look back in the history books and all of that stuff, and you see majority of people back then were in suits and dresses on day-to-day basis. And now you'll see people that'll go to, Walmart in their pajamas or something like that. What do you think about the progression of or degradation of whatever you feel? What do you think about that?
When you ask me about the state of how, today's fashion world looks, I think people have like taken a more comfortable versus high-end fashion look on things. I think high-end fashion, to an extent, luxury fashion, is at an impasse where they have to adjust or die. Great example of this is Gap. Gap was one of those manufacturers that was kind of losing its edge in the modern era. And I feel once they brought in Kanye, it just kind of flipped the script. It's like, okay, now we can consider ourselves more luxury, high-end, special, right? That's what you have to be these days. You have to be special, like a Supreme. But everyday people, for the most part, aren't really paying attention to fashion that much. And I feel that I'm not going to say you have to focus on fashion in your life, but I feel having it as a good part of your life is pretty crucial just to everyday things, because it, just like the basic fact of getting dressed every day, right? Let's say you're working from home, like I work from home, and you got to get dressed every day. Making sure that you do that just is better for your productivity and getting you set to go for like the regular day. Like when I'm not getting dressed during the day, if I'm just chilling, if I'm sleeping on a Saturday all day, I just don't feel like a productive person. Like I feel like there's a lot of things I've got to go out there and do and just be up, so I feel like it's definitely taken much more of a lazy, like more laid back take, which nothing wrong with it, but definitely much less of a focus, and it's affecting high end the most.
Now, you say you worked at home. What do you do?
I'm in sales. Yeah, I'm in sales for it's a web hosting company.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I always thought that like sales is uh kind of like entrepreneurship, but a little bit like, if that makes sense. It's not entirely entrepreneurship, but you can actually, you could sell all this stuff and then make a lot more money. But if you BS and instead of like a salary job, you're not just gonna get paid regardless. Like you're gonna get paid obviously, but you know what I'm saying, you get what you put into it pretty much.
mm, yeah, I fully agree with that. You do get what you put into it, and for the longest time, when you're kind of stuck in that mindset of, I'm just getting by, it manifests itself in other parts of your life, including, your personal life, your personal look, and then just your personal, like, day to day, just how you view things, whether or not you get something done in the day. You could put something off that you really needed to get done, but just because you're in a certain state of mind, it just kind of can push you off sometimes.
Yeah, and like kind of to tie into that, I feel like what you said earlier about making the conscious choice to get up and actually put on something that's visually appealing or that makes you feel good, that can also help your productivity throughout the day in a job like yours where you get in what you put out. And kind of like the book, Make Your Bed. You get up every day and you do that one thing, that you make your bed and then you brush your teeth and then you get dressed. And a lot of times, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody got shut down and was in their houses and had to work from home. We could have really lost a lot of that social touch and a lot of that really drive and motivation to actually get up and be productive. So fashion is one of those things that, like your channel, fashion is art. It's an art form, right? How you present yourself, and you making that conscious decision to actually put on a nice outfit and present yourself in a really good manner is really one of the small steps, but it's a big step. That makes sense.
It
A small thing to do, but it's a big step in terms of productivity every day.
it is, and fashion is art. Like the whole goal of this channel is to get people to like take their fashion as like a big part of their life, as like a personal expression of themselves. And, and understand fashion for all the great things that it can do for them, outside of just how you look, you know, how you look and how other people perceive you as well. So for example, when you're able to get your full sleeve done, it's going to be different how people will perceive you once that's done. They're going to be like, man, that's a really cool tattoo. And of course you'll have some, some old school people like, man, all these kids, they get these tattoos, not going to like the way they look when they're not in their 80s or 90s, how that is. But it for the good, and then that bad, which isn't really that bad, I could care less. But it's going to change the way how people perceive you, and that's only going to put you in a better place, because then you're going to be like, okay, because I did this, I added this like look to myself, it's brought me to another level. I feel I've been a different type of person ever since I've gotten my dreads. Like ever since I started, I was like, you start with the awkward stage, and then you get into the stage where like, okay, this is getting to where I want it to be. And then it's like, okay, this is the perfect, like, look, this is my length. I'm not going to ever go beyond this. I'm going to cut this at wherever it is now, because this is like me. And you just grow more comfortable into yourself the more you add certain parts of fashion to you.
Now, Braden, what did Kevin Samuels mean to you? I I know this channel we're talking about it, and it really got me thinking, because you're starting from kind of the same thing that Kevin Samuels started from. Uh, he was a big part of the fashion community for a long time, until he became part of the manosphere, and you kind of being in both. What did Kevin Samuels mean to you?
He meant a lot. I mean, the biggest thing was this guy. I was watching his videos back before he started bashing women, back before the viral, the viral moments, before the this ain't adding up, before all that started coming in. I would watch his videos because he was just trying to put men in like a better space and getting you a better headspace. And with how he went at the men, way more brutal. If you know him like that, it was much more brutal than how he would go at the females. So he was, to me, the Godfather, the role model, the inspiration. He was the person who would tell you what, you should have known growing up. But, a lot of people, for one reason or another, just didn't get that, type of knowledge. So when I hear him talk about all the ways I could become a high value man, and I know that's a term that's been ruined, throughout the last couple of years, but high
No, I
value
think it's a
man,
good term.
yeah, like it's definitely been oversaturated, and people like make it out to seem like a negative. But for me, he was the high value man. He had the look to match it. He made sure that fashion was a key point in his life. And I could tell that it rubbed off on him very well. Like he was always super confident. Every single live stream, to be in the suits that he was, let me know that he had this level of professionalism about himself. And he knew, okay, I'm that guy in the really nice suit with a little bit of scruff on my face. I got some nice glasses and I got a nice watch. And he kept to that. He always had this same really nice background here and there. Some of the videos, it was a little bit different, but for the most part, he stuck to it. And I think that stick to itiveness to who you are is the most important thing, because authenticity is the hardest thing to find. The hardest thing to find, which is why it's celebrated so much.
I agree. I agree entirely. Kevin Samuels, I was watching him, years and years ago. Back when I really started on my self improvement journey. I'd say probably the beginning of when I was in high school. I'm only 20 years old. I graduated last year, and it started with Kevin Samuels and Alpha M back then. Just trying to learn how a suit fits on, because my parents are all blue collar individuals, so they never really wore suits or anything like that, or didn't dress nice, didn't really go to the gym or anything like that. Didn't go to college or anything like that. So it was all, I had to learn that stuff from an outside source. And Kevin, to me, was kind of like, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you had the two different perspectives. Kevin Samuels and Steph is Cold and Alpha M. All these people are kind of like that second source, that second idea generator, where they give you a different perspective on life from, this kid that's never left uh, Melbourne, Florida in his life, is now getting opinions from people in Milwaukee, Atlanta, wherever that everybody's from.
Yeah, I agree on that big time, and then you go into some of these pages that have like blown up pretty quickly, like the Fresh and Fit podcast. I look at what those guys are doing and they're on a similar vibe. If you watch the show outside of, again, you watch outside of the viral moments, we really want to key in on that. Y'all gotta watch Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit, these type of big channels, even Seth is Cold too, outside of like some viral moment, because a lot of times you don't really see the true person in that. You kind of just see what the media wants you to see, because they're going to have a certain part of a clip, they're going to clip it off, and they're going to like kind of have let you run with it. So going back to the point, their self-improvement and all of these channels, making sure that they have great self-improvement guidelines is what's really been lacking over the last 20, 25 years. It's been a kind of fake it till you make it sort of thing when it comes to dating and fashion. In fashion, again, it used to be a peacock method. It was get as flashy as you can, get her attention, stand out. And that translates into the dating game when you have these guys, trying to be something they're not. And then they're surprised when they can't keep a girl beyond, a first date or a first month of a relationship. When she kind of like, we'll figure out and realize, okay, it's not the person I signed up with. This person's not actually who they perceive themselves to be. And the same way with fashion, when you try to do something, and we talked about this earlier, but when you're trying to be someone you're not, it really is a different thing. It really is a whole different ball game. So you just want to keep that sort of thing in mind 24/7.
I think fashion is going to make a comeback. We talked about the evolution of fashion and how, everybody would try and keep themselves at a really high standard. And then it fell off. I'd say probably like the 70s, it fell off, where, they didn't really care that much about how they looked. And then you fast forward to 2009 or 2008, YouTube comes out. And all these people that, never had a father figure in their life to guide them in these ways that only a father figure can, now have this crazy source of the internet. Nobody ever really heard of this stuff back, in the 80s and 90s. And there wasn't, if you read a self-improvement book, you got laughed at back then. And you have all these sources and all these people that you see that are becoming very, very successful. Hamza, the YouTuber, started his channel in 2020, now has over, something like 500,000-600,000 subscribers in just 2 years. I think that fashion is going to make a huge comeback because of the self-improvement people. What do you think on that?
I like that. The only reason I fight against it is because it seems that fashion has become a luxury. Like it seems fashion has become something for like rich people, and the majority of people in general, are, well, to an extent too, are not only, majority of people are not rich, obviously, but also just not motivated enough to think, okay, I want to take this look and it's going to be like a true part of my life. Like this is going to be a main piece versus how it is, or how it used to be, to where it's, much more accessible. There's a Macy's in every mall. There's a JCPenney in every mall. Now, it's really tweaked back. You've got to kind of go out there and look for it. And the only real clothing stores that are thriving are the boutiques, the ones that you really can't afford, the ones that are either really really not fashion, but they're really trendy and they're really expensive. So I feel that majority of people that are going to be into fashion are the trendy and the really wealthy. However, I do agree that it is going to come up on an uptick, because the more people who are going to see the self-improvement, who are going to take the red pill, so to speak, are going to realize, okay, I need to upgrade my fashion too, because all these channels talk about it. AMS, Alpha Male Strategies, who to me is still the biggest
Oh,
inspiration I have
yo,
when it comes to just anything videos in general. He had a really good one that talked about fashion, and it's like the dude is not a fashion page. Like he doesn't do fashion like that. However, that video, and I'm gonna leave it here just because it's really, really good, and it ties into our whole conversation today, which is how the manosphere and fashion are one in one, and how important they are together. Speaking of which, Ricky, how important is like your wardrobe just in general to you when it comes to just dating, self improvement, etc.?
my wardrobe to me is very essential. I would say it's definitely top three. Number one is always going to be confidence, but with that is confidence piggybacks on fashion, in my opinion. Because if you look bad, you're going to feel bad. And not necessarily all the time, but I guarantee you 100% of the time, if you look like $1,000,000, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. Okay. You know that feeling when you first get a haircut and you're like, man, this guy really did his job. I'm gonna tip him extra. That type of feeling when you put on a nice outfit, you put on nice clean clothes that aren't all wrinkly, and you know you put in some type of effort, that translates to confidence, and you really have that type of swagger. So that's the number one, and the number two, and the number three thing for me in terms of dating is hygiene, right? And it all
Mm-hmm.
ties in together. Those three things, they all tie in together because if you're smelling good, it's going to complement your outfit. If you know you can look at your teeth and it doesn't look like the stereotypical British teeth and the the cartoons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, like the bad guy in the movies, how he always has bad teeth. If you just, and I'm not saying you have to have straight teeth because it's expensive. I'm paying for braces right now and it's like 200 something a month for that. But I am investing in myself, in how I look with the braces, and I'm also investing into my wardrobe. So I think those are honestly my top three things: is confidence, hygiene, and fashion. Not really in any particular order, but probably confidence number one, and those two tied at. So fashion is very, very imperative to me in terms of dating.